Hi, I'm Jason Reid, and I want to talk to you today about how to use stories to sell. So if you're an entrepreneur, obviously you sell a product or a service, but if you're a keynote speaker or an influencer, you're often using stories to sell your ideas. Now, stories are a fantastic way to sell ideas or products or services. And there's a whole bunch of reasons for that we will get into in a moment. But I want to talk a little bit about how you can use stories. So obviously you can use stories in any sort of presentation that you do, Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live, any of that sort of social media stuff. You can also use it on your website or in a pre-recorded video. And you can also use it as just copy on your website as well. And of course, another great place to use it is just within sales conversations, because stories, as you'll find out, are a great place for you to help people overcome their objections to sale. So I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. Why don't we go and look at those 3 different ways that storytelling can help you sell? So the first thing that storytelling can do is help us develop a connection with our audience. So for instance, if you are a weight loss coach, you can tell a story about your own weight loss journey, for instance, and that is immediately going to connect you to your audience. Now, stories in general are great connectors because stories are always about people. This is where you bring your humanity into what you're talking about. So merely talking about people, particularly people like your clients, is going to help you develop that relationship with them. Number 2, the second thing you can do with stories is use stories to illustrate a point or give examples of what you do. So for instance, if you're a coach or any sort of expert or influencer, chances are that there's certain ideas you're trying to sell to the audience. And one of the things that you can do is make those ideas real. The problem with abstract ideas is it doesn't really get people in the gut. But stories, because they're about real people and real situations, can show exactly how your ideas work and how they can work specifically for those people in the audience. Now, the third way we can use stories here is also to address objections to the sale. Now, no matter what you're selling, even if it's an idea, people are going to have objections. People do not easily spend their money or even change their mind about their preconceived ideas. So no matter what you sell, there are some objections to sale. If you know what those are, you can use stories to help overcome those. So here's what I want to do now. I want to give you an example of how to use a story to do all of these things, to develop a connection with the audience, to illustrate an example, and also to overcome an objection. So the story you're about to hear was a story that I used to tell when I was a general business coach. Now, as a general business coach, I had a lot of competition. So here's what I did. I developed a story that, number 1, would connect with the audience. So this story is about a specific entrepreneur that I worked with who is like many other entrepreneurs that I would be talking to in my audience. Number 2, I had a specific point that I was trying to get across, that habits, particularly sales habits in our businesses, can make a huge difference between success and failure. So the story addresses that. Now, the third thing this story does is also address an objection to the sale. And that objection is, if I hire a business coach, am I going to get return on the investment? How is a business coach going to help me make money? So I wanted to be very specific and very purposeful when I told this story to show the audience exactly how that gets done. So here we go. I'm going to show you the story now. Let's go into our story vault. Now, one of my very first clients when I was a business coach was a portrait photographer, and she specialized in weddings and babies. Now, she was a great photographer, but her business was really slipping. She'd been in business for a few years, and she just wasn't getting enough referrals. She was having to go out and dig up clients, and it was getting to the point where she was considering going bankrupt. She was just exhausted trying to find enough business for herself. After having talked to her for a while, I realized that her problem was basically this. She was getting enough weddings, but nobody was hiring her for the baby photography. And that's when we realized that maybe a small and inexpensive business habit would be just the thing to turn her business around. So I said, think about it. Weddings, babies. Weddings, babies. There is a connection here. I said, why don't you do this? The next time you have a wedding client, make a note in your calendar 8 months after to call them. She said, I don't really like sales calls. I said, look, don't even think of it as a sales call, even though this is going to be the easiest sale that you ever have. All you have to do is call them up 8 months later and say, hey, yeah, I was looking on my computer and I saw your wedding photos and I was just thinking about what a great day that was. And I want to thank you once again for choosing me as your photographer. What's up? What's new? And 8 months after the wedding, often what's new is a baby on the way. And at that point, she only had to ask if they had a baby photographer yet. Now this little call worked wonders. It was zero cost to her, only took a few minutes of her time, but yet delivered powerful results. Within a couple years, she had more than quadrupled her business. Now here's my question to you. What small habit could you adopt that will make a huge change in your business and will take almost no time and no money? Chances are it's out there. And if you hire a business coach, the right business coach, you can find it. So there we go. So that is how we connect with an audience, illustrate a point, and overcome an objection at the same time. So for more storytelling tips, please visit jasonreid.org, where you can download my Professional Storytellers tool and a couple of great audios. Plus, you'll also have the opportunity to book a free 20-minute session with me. I'm Jason Reid, and happy storytelling.